If you are over 60, there is a quiet danger hiding in what you eat every single day. Not fast food, not sugar alone, but the way your body now reacts to foods that once felt safe. By the time someone reaches 60, 65, or 70, digestion, blood sugar control, muscle repair, and even brain energy no longer work the way they did at 40. Yet most diet advice aimed at seniors still comes from plans designed for younger bodies. Bodies with faster metabolisms, stronger insulin responses, and more resilient organs. Here is the shocking truth doctors are now discussing more openly. Many age-related diseases don't start with genetics. They start quietly at the dinner table, years before symptoms appear. A meal that looks healthy on paper can spike blood sugar longer than expected. A low-fat choice can weaken muscle over time. A popular heart-healthy habit can actually increase frailty if followed incorrectly after 60. This is why so many older adults say, "I eat less than I used to, but I'm gaining weight." Or, "I follow my doctor's advice, but my energy keeps dropping." Or worse, "I did everything right and my numbers still got worse." In recent years, geriatric nutrition researchers from institutions like Harvard, the Cleveland Clinic, and Johns Hopkins have raised concerns about one critical issue. Aging bodies need different fuel at different times in different proportions. Yet most seniors were never taught this. Not in medical visits, not in hospitals, not even after a diagnosis. And as 2026 approaches, continuing to eat the same way you did 5, 10, or 20 years ago may quietly increase the risk of inflammation, muscle loss, falls, memory decline, and metabolic disease, without obvious warning signs. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Because once you understand what's really happening inside your body after 60, everything about food begins to make sense. Over the past decade, a growing number of doctors and researchers have begun to speak more carefully, but more honestly, about nutrition after 60. Geriatric physicians, not fitness influencers, are now leading this conversation. At institutions like Harvard Medical School, Mayo Clinic, and Johns Hopkins, studies in journals such as the New England Journal of Medicine, JAMA, and the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition have highlighted a clear pattern. Aging changes how the body processes food at a cellular level. Dr. Walter Willett of Harvard, one of the world's most cited nutrition researchers, has repeatedly emphasized that calorie needs may decrease with age, but nutrient needs often increase. This is where many seniors unknowingly fall into trouble, eating less overall, but also eating less of what truly protects muscles, bones, the brain, and the immune system. Meanwhile, geriatric specialists like Dr. Louise Aronson, author of Elderhood, explain that modern medicine often focuses on treating diseases of aging rather than adjusting the daily habits that quietly drive them. Nutrition, she notes, is one of the most overlooked tools in healthy aging, not because it's unimportant, but because it's complex. Even cardiologists are now reconsidering older dietary rules. Research from the Cleveland Clinic has shown that overly restrictive low-fat or low-protein diets in seniors can unintentionally accelerate muscle loss, weakness, and frailty, especially after age 65. And surgeons see this reality up close. Orthopedic and recovery surgeons frequently report that older patients with poor nutritional status heal slower, lose independence faster, and face longer hospital stays, even when surgeries are successful. This is why many experts now agree on one key point. The one-size-fits-all diet model no longer works after 60. Nutrition for longevity is not about trends, it's not about extremes, and it's certainly not about copying what worked in midlife. It's about understanding how aging organs, especially the gut, liver, pancreas, muscles, and brain, respond to food differently now. This video is not based on opinion. It is grounded in what geriatric medicine, nutritional science, and real-world clinical experience are increasingly aligned on. And most importantly, it is designed for safety, simplicity, and realism, because that is what truly supports long-term health after 60. If you are watching this, chances are you have already tried to do the right thing. You may have cut back on portions, switched to lighter meals, avoided foods you once enjoyed, and yet something still feels off. Energy doesn't last through the day like it used to. Recovery from simple activities takes longer. Sleep feels lighter. Weight shifts to the middle of the body even without overeating. For many people over 60, there is also a quiet frustration that rarely gets spoken out loud. Why does my body feel like it's working against me? Doctor visits often feel rushed. Lab numbers are discussed, but daily life is not. You may be told your results are normal, even while you feel weaker, slower, or more tired than before. And then there is the confusion. One article says eat less protein, another says eat more. One expert warns against fat, another says fat protects the brain. It becomes exhausting to know who to trust. Many seniors also carry a deeper emotional weight. They worry about becoming a burden, about losing independence, about one fall, one illness, or one hospital stay changing everything. Food, once a source of comfort and enjoyment, slowly becomes a source of anxiety. Am I eating too much? Am I eating the wrong things? Am I harming myself without realizing it? None of this means you've failed. None of this means your body is broken. What it means is that your body is changing. And no one properly explained the new rules. Aging does not come with an instruction manual. And most dietary advice never adjusts for the reality of slower digestion, changing hormones, medication interactions, reduced muscle sensitivity, and a nervous system that responds differently to stress. So if you felt confused, discouraged, or quietly worried about your health despite your best efforts, you are not alone. Millions of people over 60 are experiencing the same disconnect, doing what they were taught, but not getting the results they were promised. This is exactly why a different approach is needed now. One built on understanding, not restriction, on nourishment, not punishment, on respect for the aging body, not fear of it. Here is the most important thing to understand moving forward. Improving health after 60 does not require extreme diets, complicated rules, or giving up the foods you enjoy. In fact, research in geriatric nutrition consistently shows the opposite. The most successful long-term outcomes come from simple, repeatable habits that work with the aging body, not against it. This is where the promise of this plan comes in. The approach you are about to hear is not about chasing youth. It is not about weight loss at any cost, and it is not about perfection. It is about supporting strength, stability, mental clarity, and independence, the things that matter most as the years move forward. Doctors specializing in longevity and aging agree on one reassuring truth. Even in the 60s, 70s, and beyond, the body remains highly adaptable when it receives the right signals. Muscles can still respond. Blood sugar can still stabilize. Inflammation can still quiet down. Energy can still improve, but only if the plan is realistic. This diet framework is built around foods that are familiar, affordable, and accessible. It respects slower digestion, it prioritizes safety, and it allows flexibility for medical conditions, medications, and personal preferences. Nothing here requires counting every calorie. Nothing here requires starving. Nothing here requires supplements you don't understand. Instead, this is about timing, balance, and consistency. 3 factors that research increasingly shows matter more than restriction in later life. Most importantly, this plan is designed to reduce confusion, to replace fear with clarity, and to give you a sense of control again, without pressure. You will not be asked to change everything at once. You will be guided step by step. And by the end of this video, you will understand how to eat in a way that supports your body as it is now, not as it once was. Before going further, it's important to pause for a moment and set the right expectations. Everything shared in this video is for educational purposes only. It is based on publicly available research, clinical experience from geriatric medicine, and nutrition science related to aging. But it is not a substitute for personal medical advice. Every body over 60 is different. Medical histories vary. Medications interact differently with foods. Conditions such as diabetes, heart disease, kidney issues, digestive disorders, or recent surgeries may require personalized guidance. That is why respected organizations like the Mayo Clinic and National Institute on Aging consistently recommend discussing any meaningful dietary changes with a qualified healthcare professional, especially after 60. Think of this plan as a framework, not a prescription, a way to ask better questions, a way to understand your body more clearly. Used thoughtfully and in partnership with your doctor or dietitian, nutrition can become a powerful ally in healthy aging without risk, pressure, or confusion. To understand why so many well-intentioned diets stop working after 60, we need to look at what quietly changes inside the body with age, often without obvious symptoms. First, muscle tissue becomes less responsive to food, especially protein. This process, known in medical literature as age-related muscle resistance, means the body needs clearer nutritional signals to maintain strength. When meals are too light, skipped, or unbalanced, muscle loss accelerates, even if body weight stays the same. This is one reason some seniors feel weaker despite eating normally. Second, digestion slows down. The stomach produces less acid and the gut absorbs certain nutrients like vitamin B12, iron, calcium, and magnesium less efficiently. This doesn't always cause pain, so it often goes unnoticed. But over time, poor absorption can affect energy, balance, bone strength, and cognitive clarity. Third, blood sugar regulation changes. After 60, insulin sensitivity often decreases. This means the body takes longer to clear sugar from the bloodstream. Meals high in refined carbohydrates, white bread, sugary cereals, fruit juices can cause longer-lasting blood sugar spikes than they did decades earlier. These spikes are linked in studies from JAMA and the American Diabetes Association to fatigue, inflammation, and increased risk of metabolic disease in older adults. Fourth, inflammation becomes more reactive. Aging immune systems tend to stay in a low-grade inflammatory state. Certain foods, especially ultra-processed items, excess sugar, and poorly balanced meals, can quietly amplify this inflammation, contributing to joint pain, cardiovascular strain, and slower recovery. Now, here's where common advice fails seniors. Many older adults are told to just eat less. Others are told to avoid fat. Some are told to cut protein to protect the kidneys. While these recommendations may apply in specific medical situations, broad use can be harmful. Research from the National Institute on Aging shows that overly restrictive diets in seniors often lead to undernutrition, not health. Weight may drop, but so does muscle, immunity, and resilience. Another major issue is meal timing. Skipping breakfast, eating very little during the day, and consuming most calories at night is increasingly common after retirement. Unfortunately, studies from European gerontology journals show this pattern is linked to poorer muscle maintenance, disrupted sleep, and unstable blood sugar in older adults. Medications also play a role. Many common prescriptions, such as blood pressure drugs, acid reducers, and cholesterol medications, can alter appetite, taste, and nutrient absorption. Diets that don't account for this can unintentionally worsen side effects. The core problem is not lack of discipline. It is outdated guidance. Most nutritional rules were created for younger, working-age adults. They rarely adapt to slower metabolism, reduced digestive capacity, and higher protein and micronutrient needs seen after 60. This mismatch is why so many seniors feel stuck, trying harder, but seeing fewer results. The solution is not to eat more or less blindly. It is to eat smarter, with respect for how the aging body actually functions now. And that brings us to the practical, safe adjustments that make the biggest difference. This is where clarity replaces confusion. The following solutions are not trends. They are not extreme. They are grounded in what geriatric nutrition experts, longevity researchers, and clinical doctors now agree works best for bodies over 60. Each one is designed to be safe, realistic, and adaptable. Solution 1, prioritize protein, but spread it out, what it is. After 60, the body needs protein not just for muscles, but for balance, immunity, healing, and brain health. The key difference now is distribution. Instead of eating most protein at dinner, seniors benefit from moderate protein at every main meal. Why it helps seniors? Studies from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition show that aging muscles respond better when protein is spread evenly across the day. This supports strength, reduces frailty risk, and improves recovery from daily activities. Protein also helps stabilize blood sugar and reduce cravings, two major challenges after retirement. Common mistake. Many seniors eat very little protein early in the day. Toast, jam, cereal, or fruit only, then try to catch up at dinner. Unfortunately, the aging body cannot use large protein doses efficiently at once. Another mistake is avoiding protein out of fear of kidney strain. For most healthy seniors, moderate protein is not harmful, but this should always be discussed with a doctor if kidney disease is present. How to do it safely. Aim for a protein source at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Gentle options include eggs, yogurt, cottage cheese, lentils, fish, soft chicken, or tofu. Portion size matters more than quantity. No need for excess. Chew well and eat slowly to support digestion. Solution 2. Choose carbohydrates that release energy. Slowly, what it is. Not all carbohydrates are the same, especially after 60. The goal is to favor carbs that digest slowly and avoid sharp blood sugar spikes. Why it helps seniors. As insulin sensitivity decreases with age, refined carbs can cause longer-lasting blood sugar highs followed by crashes. This contributes to fatigue, inflammation, and increased risk of type 2 diabetes. Research from JAMA and the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health shows that whole food carbohydrates improve metabolic stability and cognitive energy in older adults. Common mistake: avoiding carbohydrates completely. This often leads to low energy, constipation, and nutrient deficiencies. Another mistake is relying on fruit juice, white bread, crackers, or sweet snacks that appear light but act aggressively on blood sugar. How to do it safely. Choose whole grains, beans, lentils, vegetables, and whole fruits. Pair carbs with protein or healthy fat to slow absorption. Keep portions moderate. Balance matters more than elimination. Limit juices and refined flours. Solution 3, don't fear healthy fats. Use them strategically. What it is. Healthy fats support brain function, hormone balance, joint health, and nutrient absorption, especially important after 60. Why it helps seniors, neurologists, and cardiologists now emphasize that omega-3 fats and monounsaturated fats help reduce inflammation and support cognitive function. Research from the Lancet Neurology and the Cleveland Clinic supports this shift. Low-fat diets in seniors have been linked to poorer vitamin absorption and unintended weight loss of muscle, not fat. Common mistake: avoiding fats entirely or consuming too much processed fat, fried foods, margarine, packaged snacks. Another mistake is adding fats without adjusting portions elsewhere, leading to digestive discomfort. How to do it safely. Use olive oil, nuts, seeds, avocado, and fatty fish. Add small amounts consistently rather than large amounts occasionally. Avoid heavily processed oils. If digestion is sensitive, start slowly. Solution 4. Eat at consistent times to support rhythm and recovery. What it is. Regular meal timing supports blood sugar control, digestion, sleep quality, and hormone balance, especially in retirement years. Why it helps seniors. Studies from European gerontology journals show that irregular eating patterns increase fatigue, nighttime wakefulness, and muscle breakdown in older adults. The aging body thrives on rhythm. Common mistake: skipping breakfast, eating very little all day, and consuming most calories late at night. This disrupts sleep and digestion. Another mistake is grazing constantly, which keeps insulin elevated and digestion overloaded. How to do it safely. Aim for 2 to 3 balanced meals daily. Eat the largest meal earlier in the day if possible. Allow digestion time before bedtime. Listen to hunger cues, not the clock alone. Solution 5. Hydration and micronutrients matter more than ever. What it is. Thirst perception declines with age, yet hydration is critical for circulation, cognition, digestion, and medication safety. Micronutrients like magnesium, potassium, calcium, and B vitamins support nerves, muscles, and bones. Why it helps seniors. Dehydration is a leading contributor to dizziness, falls, constipation, and confusion in adults over 65, according to the National Institute on Aging. Poor absorption makes nutrient-rich foods especially important. Common mistake: waiting to feel thirsty, relying only on tea or coffee, assuming supplements replace food, how to do it safely. Sip water consistently throughout the day, include soups, fruits, and vegetables. Review supplements with a healthcare provider. Monitor urine color as a simple hydration check. These solutions are not about control. They are about support. They work best when applied gently, gradually, and consistently, without pressure or fear. Here is something that often gets overlooked in conversations about aging, but matters deeply. The body does not stop responding after 60. In fact, research from the National Institute on Aging and long-term studies published in Age and Aging show that older adults who make small, consistent changes often experience meaningful improvements, sometimes within weeks. Strength can return, energy can stabilize, digestion can feel calmer, mental clarity can sharpen. Not because the body becomes young again, but because it becomes supported. One of the most hopeful truths in geriatric medicine is that decline is not always inevitable. Much of what people assume is just aging is often the result of undernourishment, irregular rhythms, and outdated guidance. And the aging body is remarkably forgiving. It does not require perfection. It responds to patterns, not isolated mistakes. It adapts best to kindness and consistency. If you've spent years worrying that it's too late to change anything, that fear is understandable, but it isn't accurate. Doctors who work with patients in their 70s, 80s, and beyond regularly report improved mobility, better lab markers, and increased independence when nutrition becomes more aligned with the body's current needs. Progress after 60 looks quieter than it did at 40. But it is often deeper and more sustainable. You don't need to overhaul your life. You don't need strict rules. You don't need to chase trends. You only need to give your body the signals it understands now. And with time, it responds. Nutrition never works in isolation, especially after 60. Doctors who specialize in longevity consistently emphasize that food sends its strongest signals when it aligns with the rest of daily life. This is why the same diet can help one person and frustrate another. Sleep is the first missing piece. Poor sleep alters appetite hormones, weakens blood sugar control, and increases inflammation. Studies from sleep medicine reviews show that seniors who eat balanced meals earlier in the day and avoid heavy late-night eating tend to sleep more deeply and wake less often. Even small adjustments like finishing dinner 2 to 3 hours before bed can improve both digestion and rest. Movement is the second piece. This does not mean intense exercise. Gentle walking, light resistance, stretching, or balance work signals the body to use nutrients for strength rather than storage. Research from the British Journal of Sports Medicine shows that combining adequate protein with light daily movement significantly reduces frailty risk in older adults. Food builds the structure. Movement tells the body where to use it. Hydration routines also matter more than people realize. Drinking most fluids earlier in the day supports circulation and reduces nighttime bathroom trips, improving sleep continuity. Then there is mindset. Stress changes digestion. Eating while rushed, distracted, or anxious activates the nervous system in a way that reduces nutrient absorption. Geriatric psychologists often recommend slower meals, seated eating, and a few deep breaths before starting. Simple habits that improve digestion without changing food at all. Finally, routine creates safety. Regular meal times, familiar foods, and predictable patterns help the aging nervous system feel stable. This stability improves appetite, digestion, and energy. Longevity is not built on willpower. It is built on alignment. When nutrition, sleep, movement, and routine support one another, the body does less struggling and more healing. If this information has brought clarity, take a quiet moment to acknowledge that. Understanding how your body works now is not about control, it's about confidence. If you are over 60, 65, or 70, your experience matters, and sharing it helps others feel less alone. If you feel comfortable, leave a comment with your age and one small change you're considering. Many people read these comments and find reassurance in knowing they're not the only ones navigating these changes. If this video felt helpful, gently support it by clicking like. It helps this message reach other seniors who may still be struggling in silence with confusion or fear around food. Subscribing is not about notifications, it's about continuity. Future videos will continue exploring senior health, nutrition, strength, and longevity with the same calm, science-based approach. No pressure, no urgency, just support. And remember this above all, you don't need to do everything. You don't need to do it perfectly. You only need to take one step that respects where your body is now. Healthy aging is not about fighting time. It's about working with it wisely, patiently, and with self-respect. Thank you for spending this time learning about your health.